It's Tuesday, April 14th, 2026. I took Monday off too. I was planning on putting a video together then, but I, in traditional fashion, ended up putting off taxes until not technically quite the last minute. And man, oh man, this year was probably the worst for me tax-wise than any other year this far, to the order of tens of thousands more than I had expected. So that one took the wind out of my sails enough to delay trying to be a video producer for another day. It is tough to reflect fully on a weekend of firearms, rain, and politics when I feel like I just got financially gut punched. But turns out a good night's sleep does a lot of good, and we are back at it. Them's the breaks, and sometimes you just gotta roll with them. So I've always been a fan of canceled plans. As much as scheduling than doing things is generally a good thing, the catharsis that comes with canceled plans is really tough to beat, in my opinion. I've always loved, and really I have especially needed some free time, more so I think than the average person, or at least more than they're willing to admit. So last Thursday, 2 days before we were set to visit a friend of ours who lives out on his family farm, which is about 2.5 hours away from where we live here in the Twin Cities, the weather report for Saturday showed wind and rain pretty much all day out there. Since our big activity of the day was to be shooting guns outside, that presented us a problem. Friday, however, was set to be beautiful, so in a rare occasion, we bumped the trip up by a day. The guys who were set to work on Friday either took the whole day off or just took a half day and got what they needed to get done in the morning before driving on out there. Well, I was initially skeptical of this bumped up plan for reasons very related to my love of canceled plans. The day really couldn't have turned out better. The weather was absolutely beautiful. It was great to essentially hang out for a solid afternoon and have a pretty memorable trip. The weather was absolutely gorgeous. I got a little sun, though I was certainly not the pinkest boy out of the six of us when the day was over. Four of us traveled in from the cities. One of us, who was the host, has lived out there on the farm that has been in his family for about 150 years. And the last guy was a childhood friend of his that he'd known since, 4 or 5 years old. So I have mentioned my preference for guns with wood in the past, and the farm boys did not disappoint. They had two different Mosin Nagants, which is a variety of Russian or Soviet bolt-action rifles, first manufactured back in 1891. It is a variety of antique firearm we did not see too much of when we attended the Antique Firearms Show just a couple of weeks ago. The ammo used for those Mosin Nagants is 7.62 by 54 R, which is similar, at least in caliber, but not the same as the 7.62 round used for, say, AK-47s. It's a big cartridge, and the ones that we were shooting were actually purchased in wrapped paper bundles from the local rural gun shop, since it's generally more of an antique or collector round than something that people are shooting regularly. Guns I brought fit right in with the farm boys. I brought a shotgun and my lever action rifle. And while they need a bit more wear to really fit in with the whole spread, it was fun to see kind of a big variety out there. Most of the city boys that came with brought rifles and handguns. Handguns are very common in the city. They're the most practical for range shooting, given their smaller caliber and shorter range. And if someone decides to carry a gun habitually, it's a lot more practical to conceal than anything else. Rifles are a bit harder to justify when living in the city. While it is fun to do target shooting, I really think that they are more suited for an outdoor range. Because rifle bullets travel very far, they are generally less safe than shotguns or pistols if they are shot in the air, or the bullets otherwise leave the range for any reason. The city boys brought their semi-automatic rifles, mostly black with metal and polycarbonate, and fancy optics and all that. And a couple of hardened steel targets, which really were very satisfying to plink, literally, those bullets into from longer range. I was the only city boy who brought a shotgun. I was really looking forward to heading out there to try clay target shooting. I bought a big pack of clay targets. It was, $25 for 130 or so. Target thrower, just a manual guy, kind of like a lacrosse stick, and plenty of target shells, 12 gauge filled with birdshot. It took a few shots for me to land one, and I'm far from an expert, but man, oh man, is it satisfying to watch a flying target blast into pieces on a successful hit. So I have a pump action shotgun, which is a lot of fun to use and certainly does the trick, but after shooting targets, I now unfortunately have a reason to eye the most expensive kind of gun you often see in gun stores, which are over-under shotguns. Over-unders are typically break action. They kind of break open, you put a shell in each of the two tubes, and then you have a mechanically complex trigger that allows for shooting both barrels one after another with the aim to break two flying targets that are shot essentially at the same time. They're more of a prestige gun, much in the way that a mechanical watch is a prestige item over, say, a Timex. Both will tell you the time, but one is trying to say something else too. So shooting was pretty fun, and it served as a great excuse to go visit the farm. Cam the dog was very happy to have company out there. He was an absolute champ in helping me test the targets. And by test the targets, I mean throwing clay target. He would run after them, sniff them, and then come back to me to let me know that, yes, in fact, it had flown. The highlight of the day happened during our afternoon lunch. We had a great pork roast with pasta salad and garlic bread. And one of the two resident cats decided to hop in my lap while we were all gathered around eating. It is tough to beat the rush of being chosen by a cat. In fact, far more memorable even than the rush of shooting flying clay pigeons over a farm field. And in such a crowded and high visibility setting, well, yeah, the chosen by cat rush, I think, takes the cake for the day.